A warm welcome and good evening to Dr. Mohammed Yunus Yassin, President of Association of Science, Technology and Innovation, ASTI, Mr. Anandan Shanmugam, Project Director of Young Inventors Challenge 2021 Special Edition, all the working group committee members of YIC 2021, all the mentors, teachers, participants and viewers. Thank you very much for joining us today. It will be conducted by Mr. Faisal Noor Bacha, YIC 2021 Judging Advisor, and Mr. Tan She Hao, the Chief Judge of Young Inventors Challenge 2021. Mr. Faisal Noor Bacha is currently employed as a senior manager at the Malaysian Bioeconomy Development Corporation with at least 10 years of experience in project structuring for investments and industry support in the field of agriculture and biotechnology, covering the natural products, aquaculture, livestock, food production, and waste management sectors. Qualified with a bachelor's honors in engineering, biotechnology, and master's in science, biomedical from the International Islamic University, Malaysia. On the other hand, we have Mr. Tan She Hao, who graduated with a BSc in biotechnology from California State Polytechnic University of Pomona. He returned in 2010 after working in a pharmaceutical company in Los Angeles to pursue his career in Malaysia with SME Corporation, followed by Malaysian Bioeconomy Development Corporation. He has been working close to 10 years to enhance innovation and strategic thinking in small and medium enterprises, particularly biotechnology companies. In 2017, he obtained his MBA from Heriot-Watt University, Edinburgh, and was in time to participate with ASTI in the Young Innovators Challenge, YIC. This will be his 5th year participating with YIC. We have very knowledgeable and experienced trainers for you today, so I hope it will be beneficial for everyone. Let's welcome Mr. Faisal Noor Bacha and Mr. Tan She Hao.
Good evening, everyone. So today is the 3rd session, and we were hoping for more Q&As from the last session. So we hope with this session we can get more feedbacks from you guys, so that we can improve the YSC session altogether. Without further ado, today we'll be talking about the judging criteria for invention pitch video and also the project report writing. So here with me today is the the judging advisor, Mr. Faisal, who will be also running through some of the slides as we go forward. So as today's introduction, you should know that at the end of this session, you should be able to understand the scoring mechanisms for the invention pitch video. You should also be able to understand the scoring mechanisms for the report writing. And last but not least, you understand the submission process and the submission deadline. So just as an overview of the scoring, your invention pitch video will give you a maximum round-up score of 80%, while your report writing will give you a 20% score. So that total score will come up to 100%. So let's go and dwell a little bit on the invention pitch video portion. So the way how we mark will be based on 100%, and then later on readjusted to 80%. So these are the portions for the invention pitch video. You have 40% for your invention and innovation, description of that, and then the quality of the production, 30%, and the presentation at 30%. Now, for the invention innovation, 40% part, your introduction will give you a 10% score, right? So you need to talk about the description of your team. Again, as I always mention, please describe your team, where you're from, which school you're from, and who are your team members, right? Then second, your problem statement, and how is it related to the team. So remember, this year's team is the SDG. Please mention that. And after that, you can describe about your innovation and the originality behind the innovation, how you came to that idea and how you created the innovation. Second, so the portion on the adoption and adaptation of scientific concepts in the innovation refers to your justification of the scientific problem, how the innovation develops the learning of at least one scientific concept. The third one is the approach used in the invention or the innovation is unique and novel. How different is it from existing solutions, or in the business case, your competitors, right? And last of all, the ethics behind it. What references do you put? You know, your reliable acknowledgement behind your thought process and your scientific process. Another 10% will be on the methodology, right? So the methodology employed, right? Your thought process in identifying materials to be used, the practicality of the materials used in terms of cost, safety, and scalability. And the last one, how safe is it for the user to assemble your innovation or to reproduce your innovation with minimal or without supervision from an expert. Another 10% will be on the impact of your innovation, right? So this includes how economically viable is it to address all levels of society? Can it be handled with minimal or without supervision of an instructor? Does it have the capability of being a catalyst for more inventions to come? Is it made from environmentally friendly materials? And does it have the potential of addressing a global need? Now, we go into quality of production. Here we're talking about 30% of the video pitch scoring, right? So here 10% will come from your time and the duration of the video. As per the last session, we kept reminding you that the duration of your video should not exceed 5 minutes. Your language should be in English. Your team should be between 2 to 5 persons only. Again, you should have appropriate titles, right? And your video content should consist of the following: your introduction, your scientific concepts, the explanation, and the visual aid. So now I'll pass the floor over to Mr. Faisal.
Hello, how are you guys? All right, I think I'd just like to welcome everybody back. For those who have been in this YIC, and then for those who are new here, and welcome to a great journey that you're going to enjoy from now till the finals. And without further ado, let's continue with our the judging criteria for this invention pitch video and project report writing. Before I go, thank you, Mr. Chair. All right. We are in the part of quality of production. So this will be basically for we are still in the video part. So as you can see in the slides, audio quality of 5% is very important. So you may want to know what is audio quality. So the criteria as per the slides. The first criteria of audio quality is sound effect and music. So you can actually interrelate between what is sound effect and music. So you could actually have, for example, you could have, you need to find the right background music for your invention. You cannot, that is something that you need to play around with. And you can see there is also the item of sound effect. So what does that mean? It could be music. It could be, some kind of how depends on your creativity. What kind of sound effect do you want it to be? Depending on the way that you carry out your invention, the way that you present. It could be music. It could be some other sounds. So it all depends on your creativity. So that is number one. Number two, and before I go to the next one, just don't overdo it, because based on previous presentation, sometimes you have teams who are overdoing the music effect or the sound effect. So you need to find the right balance between what you actually talk, what you actually present, and the background music and sound effects. So that has to be balanced very well. Number two is the volume of speaker, the participant. Like I said, this is where it comes to the balancing between the background music or the sound and the volume of the speaker. It must be very clear. As we go down, accuracy and fluency must be there. So the clarity has to be there. So the clarity, and then the continuation. So when I say accuracy and fluency, it also depends on the movement from one speaker to another speaker. How do you move from one speaker to another speaker? So that is very important. It's like passing a baton lah in your, in your what do you call it, 4x100 or 4x400. So it's how do you pass from one speaker to another speaker? So that is also very important here. And of course, lastly, but not the least, language appropriateness is very important. So because we are presenting in English, we would recommend that as much as possible that you actually look into your what do you call it, the 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 language, language, and the right words for you to convey your invention. All right, next slide. And visual quality. So this depends very much on how do you bring your invention, how are you presenting or bringing your invention forward. So it all depends on, you have the item of graphic or animation, but you do have to see that, do you really need certain, some of these criteria, graphic or animation. So like coming back to the earlier one, don't overdo it. You need to find the right balance, the graphic or animation. So when I say graphic or animation, it could also be some kind of, you need to show how the tables are showing, your graphs are actually being portrayed. So those are important things, not necessarily, you show, something that is no meaning, has to be meaningful, has to be relevant. So that is very important. Number two is your color scheme. So when I say color scheme, it could be a background of, where you are doing. It could be an artificial, background that that relates back to your invention. So if you're doing something, for example, if you're doing something on agriculture, you know, you may want to put something that is relevant with agriculture behind it. So that's that kind of examples. We don't want it to be too monotonous behind it. So that's where your creativity comes in. All right. Number three is your text and font readability. As you, there was, it'll be good for you to have subtitles. For the subtitles will allow you to convey your message even clearer to the judges. So this is very important. And of course, your video resolution, that goes without saying. It is, how sharp is your video. And number five is your camera techniques. So I know this may not be very easy, but it's how do you play around with the various techniques of the, what do you call it, the exposure, the focus of your content. That is if you're showcasing your invention directly. Those are kind of things that if you're showing a model that is relevant, so you can actually show from how it works from different angles. So these are important things, right? All right. So the quality of production, so filmmaking or video production ability and skills. So this will basically will be broken down into the following items. You can see that storyboard, basically your video structure. How do you carry it from introduction right up to your conclusion? So this is what, like Mr. Che was mentioning, the introduction part of it. So these are all keys, your storyboard. The message must be very clear from how you structure the whole thing. You don't jump from one part to another part to another section. And this is so that the panel, you have to always, you should always be positioning yourself as the judge sometimes. What do they want to hear? What do they want to know? The structure that you're putting, can they understand or not? So you need to have that kind of that you need to picture yourself as a judge, so that you can actually make sure that the story that you are telling, the invention that you're trying to portray here, the message will be carried forward. All right. Number two is your screenplay. Of course, this relates back to the earlier slides, clear explanation in terms of dialogue or illustrations, where it comes back to your graphic or animation. All right. So they all are interrelated. So if you hit one thing that is very clear, you'll normally you'll probably it'll help you gain that extra marks for you to go for to be ahead of others, and for you to portray your message. Number three is creativity. Yes, of course. How do you attract your viewer or audience? Okay, this very much depends also on your problem statement that you're going to mention. So it's just not the it is just not sometimes your invention itself, but maybe the problem statements and how do you portray that problem statements, and then you give them a teaser of how are you going to solve that issue. So these are the things that the message that you carry forward. So that's where the creativity comes in, not necessarily the color or anything, but it could be the way you carry your message. So that is very important. Number four is digital editing. Yes, as judges, we have often seen that sometimes there are certain sections of your videos which could be edited. You could have removed some of them. So these are the things that you may need to work with your team over and over again. Find the best. Crop it to as much as possible within what Mr. Chair mentioned, within the 5 minutes. So sometimes these are very obvious that as judges we can actually see that how much effort you have put into digital editing. Number five is image video copyright. Okay, this is very important because it's just not that the video is being copied from other resources, but you may also want to mention what kind of application that you're using for your video. What kind of applications tools are you using for your editing? So these are very important. The tools, that the editing tools, the platform that you're using for your video. So these are important things for you to mention in your video. All right. Okay. The next one, presentation on communication skills. Okay. Well articulated storyline. So you, like what I mentioned earlier, your problem statement, from your problem statement, and what are you trying to solve here, and then it relates back to the guidelines that we have actually mentioned earlier. So how do you convey that message? So the storyline has to be very important. Like what I said, you need to position yourself as a person listening to your problem also, so that that it will catch their attention and they understand very clearly. Of course, fluency is very important. Confidence, clear interpretation of scientific principles. So this is very clear, very important, especially if you're reaching the final stages where these scientific principles will be questioned, during the live sessions. So this is very important. And detailed elaboration of the scientific content. So basically the content is basically how did you carry out your experiments? How did you come to that invention? So these are very important. So these are key things. All right. This is another 10% of the style of presentations. So this is where your aesthetic values comes in: attractiveness, able to engage with the audience. So like what I said, it's just not the background, because it's the way that you actually present yourself. That's very important. How do you keep them attracted to your invention and your presentation? Creativity in delivering scientific information. So you may not want to just present something, it shouldn't be very monotonous. Just reading, a formula or something like that. You could find ways of how do you make it more creative. Probably the derivation of that scientific information, the reason behind that scientific information, the way it's portrayed, and probably even a background of that scientific information that you want to do. So these are things that will capture the attention of the audience. And this will also show that you actually understand that the scientific information that you are presenting, you understand and comprehend fully for you to go further. All right. Number 4 is display of professionalism. Of course, attire, flow, and manner, very important. Like I said, this depends very much on the setting that you're going to present. All right. Technical presentation skills, explanation with scientific evidence. So like what I said, the explanation is very important on the scientific evidence. So what this explanation will do is basically these are things where you need to give it relates back to your logical explanation, like what I mentioned earlier. Why is this scientific evidence important? Why is this scientific theory is important for your invention, or for the problem statement that you are trying to portray here. So that is very important, so that you are providing the right scientific theory or evidence that fits your invention and your problem statement. So that is very important here. Real life examples provided, that is your proof, and future recommendations for improvement. All right. Okay, next. Judging criteria for the report writing. So this is a whole chunk of 20 marks for your final project. So this is very important. It's very important. It's best for you to be as short, clear, and concise in your problem statement, so that the judges are clear from the beginning. What are you trying to solve here? So this is very important. And number two is, if they know what is your problem statement, it's easier for them to understand the scientific principles that you are going to mention earlier to solve your problems later. So that gives you that edge, that gives you that understanding for the judges to connect to your invention and your project. So this is very important. All right. The key word emphasizing here is, I'm saying concise and clear, very important. All right. Relevance to the theme of sustainable development goals. So this is very important. There are clear marks given to this criteria. So you need to have very clear explanation on how it relates back to the SDG goals. Number three, description of invention, its purpose and objective, clear and easy to understand. It comes back to how do you move forward from your problem statement. So this is where you need to have that the right message transferring from problem statement to your solution. So this is basically the body of your report writing. How do you basically, it has to be very fluid, very smooth. So this is very important. Okay. So you need to have a very clear definition, description of your invention, its purpose and objective. So when I say objective means, what does it solve? How does it solve your problem statement? So that is the objective here. Clear and easy to understand. It relates back to the conciseness of the problem statement earlier. Number four, the scientific principle relevant to the invention. The scientific principle mentioned and explained. So you need to find, you need to really explain, the theory behind the scientific principle behind this, so that it's the right, that's the best scientific theory or the principles for you to address your problem statement. So, this, you need to find the right thing. And how do you carry forward that? Number two, originality, novelty, justification of the invention. It's not copied, it's not plagiarized. So this is very key, because judges do check on similar inventions online. So the originality is very important. And this is also very important for your future endeavors, for your future uh, um, moving forward in this kind of inventions, where your thought process, the originality of how do you portray things, the originality of your inventions, and how do you identify problem statements. So these are very important. So that's when the originality comes in very much. Number six, a diagram with specifications and technicality, a detailed diagram, figures with specifications, methodology, and test parameters explained. These are things that are very important, because the judges will ask you, have you done your project? Does your project or invention work? So other than just showing it on a video, you may also want to show how many number of times that you have actually carried out this, your prototype, basically. If it is a program, the number of types you have actually gone through your programs with different parameters, different inputs. So these are very important. So this is where we will see actually basically the invention actually works. So this is the proof that we would like to see. All right. And then moving on, the benefits of the invention benefits. So these are like this could be this could be other than the direct benefits that you're trying to portray here. you could also look into what kind of other benefits that your invention can actually provide. You should think out of the box. So not just, it does not need to be just one, not just to solve the problems. You could also try to think out of the box. What else can your invention actually, solve in the future? The benefits from others using it. So these are very important, and the benefits can come from social benefits. From the benefits will be relating back to your SDG also. So that will be very key. So the best is for you to explore the SDG and then find out how your invention, it benefits or it relates back to the SDG. So this is very important, right? So number 8, conclusion and future projects. In what does the invention consist of? And you just summarize the whole thing. Just summarize so that your invention basically has provided a solution for the problem statement. So you reiterate that thing in your final conclusion, and move and do free to add what kind of future projects that could come out of your invention. So this is also very important for others to follow and for you to continue improving on your invention, right? All right. Finally, the submission deadlines. So the final submission deadlines. So you will have to upload your invention pitch video in the YouTube link that will be provided together with your project report and submitted to the email yic2510@gmail.com. And the submission deadline is 1st September 2021, end of 1st September, right? So, okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fazil Nur Bacha and Mr. Tan Che Hao, for giving such a detailed guideline to the participants. To recap from the explanation, the shortlisted teams need to submit 5 minutes invention pitch video and 5 pages project report by the 1st September 2021. I hope all of you had a good session today. If you have any questions, do drop us an email and we will revert back to you the soonest. Thank you for being a great audience. I'm Teacher Linga, your moderator for today, signing off. Thank you very much.